The Apostle Paul, the false Apostle Paul, is quite an enigma. He's quite a conundrum. For a while, I had decided I would never mention his name again. I would never mention his scriptures again. And I stuck to that for quite a long time. But then I began to realize the encrypted and encoded nature of the New Testament. And I began to realize the encrypted and coded nature of the writings of Paul himself. And I began to notice that Paul was putting a lot of encrypted truth into his error, and he had become a master of encrypting error into truth as well. And it makes perfect sense because any skillful liar will always mix in some truths. Any skillful liar will always mix in some truth. So, yes, I know that the Apostle Paul killed the Apostle James long after. The false Apostle Paul killed the Apostle James long after the Damascus Road. Yes, I know that Paul was a spy. Yes, I know that Paul is a false apostle. Yes, I know that Paul was the first Antichrist. And yet, I'm going to bring to you a presentation from his scriptures tonight. And this came from Caroline down in Ecuador. She gave me this idea and just threw it out there. And this is going to be a very, very profound presentation. I think it's going to do some stuff for a lot of people because it's going to show us some things that we haven't seen before. And it really is amazing. And I'm doing this almost cold because I know that it's good, and I know that it popped into my head, and I know that now's the time to get it out there. So not my normal polished presentation, but yet we're going to go where angels fear to tread, because that's just kind of what we do. Sometimes we're ready, fire, aim, but you know what? It's working out okay so far. And I just want to thank you so much. Even though I've been on YouTube timeout, which is just the craziest thing ever. You're guilty until proven innocent. And I'm about to go ballistic like Heidi did and see if I can't expedite my return to live programming. But the success of the non-live programming has been amazing. And I want to thank you so much for getting my back and for supporting, and especially with the little traumas and dramas I've been through the last couple of weeks. Thank you so much for having my back, and thank you so much for supporting me. You're the best, and I do truly love you. Thank you so much. Let's look now at the book of 2 Corinthians. And, I know people that watch don't always like the Bible, but I got to tell you, this is some really good stuff. And it's not Bible stuff. It's spiritual truth. It's not Bible stuff. It's spiritual reality. It's not Bible stuff. It's like ascension protocol. It's like, wow, this is amazing stuff. So let's just read this. And I think we'll probably get into the Greek, but let's just read it in the English, knowing that Paul's a liar, knowing that Paul was the first Antichrist, knowing that Paul is trying to deceive, but knowing that he's bound by this crazy, weird code they have to tell the truth. And they're not doing it because they love us. They're doing it because they have to absolve themselves of guilt. They have to be able to say, we told you the truth. Now they hide it, they encode it, they encrypt it, but they tell us the truth. And Paul is telling us some tremendous truths here in the midst of error with the aim of deceiving us. And yet, the truth is still here, ladies and gentlemen. It really does begin to boggle your mind when you think about it, because, yeah, he's trying to deceive us. Yeah, he's trying to keep us from truth, but yet, as Rooney tries to run on the hardwood floors, it sounds funny, we got great truth here. So, and lest I should be exalted above measure through the abundance of the revelations, there was given to me a thorn in the flesh, the messenger of Satan to buffet me, lest I should be exalted above measure. There's a great spiritual lesson here. And I have lived this spiritual lesson on more than one occasion, which tells you right away I'm a slow learner. But something tells me, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not the only one hearing these words that is also a slow learner. Listen to what is said here. And I read the Bible I've probably read it 200 times. I have over 100,000 hours of study in the scriptures, and I don't care if you believe it or not, but it's true. And I've never seen this until tonight, probably because I never questioned Paul for 20 years. And then almost the last 20 years, I've never wanted to look at a word that he wrote because I know who he is. And what can you get from a poisoned well other than poisoned water? And yet, I guess sometimes there's an antidote in the water, or sometimes, I don't know, but you can get some stuff out of there. It's encoded, it's encrypted, it's not that difficult, it's not that complicated. So, lest I should be exalted above measure through the abundance of revelations. Ladies and gentlemen, we're living in a world today where we have an abundance of revelation. The prophet Daniel called this the time of Da'ath, the time of the emergence of wisdom, the emergence of revelation knowledge. We're living in the time, and Daniel pinpointed it. He said at a time where people from the most humble to the richest will be able to travel great distances just like that. Now remember, Daniel was a guy that rode around on donkeys and camels and maybe a chariot if he got lucky. So even somebody that's riding anything better than a bicycle is moving across great distances in incredibly fast times. If you're on a motorcycle, you are, what is a motorcycle? 500 horsepower or something. I don't know what they are. I'm not a car geek, but hundreds of horsepower, donkey power, camel power. Dude, you're in a 50 horse, even if it's 50 horsepower, you're in a 50 horse chariot. You know how fast that is compared to Daniel's times? What about a car? What about a plane, ladies and gentlemen? These are the times that Daniel spoke of all those thousands of years ago and told us that there would be abundance of revelation, that there would be abundance of revelation. I am going to do it. I am going to go into the Greek, and I am going to look at what abundance of revelation means because, ladies and gentlemen, this is amazing. And we may spend a little bit of time on this tonight. I hope you haven't got anywhere else to go. What is it? Is it Tuesday night, Wednesday night? I'm not sure what night it is. I think it's Tuesday night, isn't it? Or is it Wednesday night? I really don't know, ladies and gentlemen, what night it is, but it must be Tuesday night because I was on with Jay last night. But because of the surpassingness, I don't even know, and look what the word is, hyperbole. Do you know what hyperbole is? We say hyperbole is to say, I'm so hungry I could eat a horse. You really couldn't eat a horse, but you're so hungry, you're saying, I could eat a horse. That's hyperbole. When my mother, no, I'm not going to go there. That's what hyperbole is. Yeah. Anyway, we'll look at the Greek and see what it means. Surpassing excellence, exceeding, excelling, surpassing excellence, preeminence, exceedingly. It's huge. And we are seeing those kind of revelations right now. Superlatively beyond measure are the revelations that we're seeing now. This word means surpass, exceed, transcend. We are seeing transcendent revelations. We are seeing revelations that exceed anything that we've ever seen before. We are seeing revelations that surpass anything that we've ever said before. This might be a book, ladies and gentlemen. We are seeing superlatively beyond measure in the category of revelations like we've never seen before, just like Daniel said that we were. These are heady times, ladies and gentlemen. These are heady times, surpassingness of apocalypse, and it means unveiling. Watch this. Unveiling. I still got it. I still remember from the Bible college days. It's been a long time, but I still remember it. It is an unveiling. Ladies and gentlemen, we're having an unveiling of revelation that is superlative and surpasses anything that humanity has ever seen before. Think about what you can do right now. You can sit here and you can watch New Cosmic Knowledge. You can go over to Rex Bear Leak Project. You can go over to Wayne Steiger. You can go over to Global Witness. You can go over to Naughty Beaver. You can go over to WSO. You can go over to Heidi Vandenberg. You can go over to Jenny Moonstone. You can go over to Dan at Overwatch Channel. You can go to TOT, Defenders of Truth. What is it? Decoders of Truth with Jay Campbell. I mean, you can go to all these places just like that. You can go to Vinnie Eastwood. You can go to, who am I forgetting? I always forget people. I hate to forget people. But you just look at the front of my channel and you'll see all the people that I think are really amazing. Magenta Pixie. Who else is on there that I'm forgetting about? But anyway, you get the point. Surpassing revelations. And we're getting that right now. And is it any wonder sometimes that in order that we don't become conceited, that we don't become raised beyond limit, that we don't get too uplifted, that we don't lift ourselves up too much, that we don't exalt ourselves too much, that we don't get too arrogant? Isn't it interesting and isn't it possible that we're getting so much great revelation these days that in order for us not to get carried away with ourselves and not to get arrogant, that every now and then we get a thorn or a sharp affliction, we get a little pain, we get a little discomfort. We get that. Where do we get that? We get that in our flesh. We get that in our human nature. We get that in our body. We get that in our empowerment. It's something that sparks up in our humanity, something that sparks up in our meat suit. And they are messengers from God. Watch this. Watch this. It's a thorn in the flesh, a messenger. Watch this. The word messenger means messenger from God, a supernatural messenger from God. That's what it means. So it can't be Satan like you think of Satan, because it's not like you think of Satan. It's the adversary. It's the Satan. And you know what the Satan is, ladies and gentlemen? The Satan is the accuser. What's the accuser? The accuser is, it's your flesh. It's just you. It's just your humanity. It's just your adversary. And these thorns in the flesh, these little things that stop you every now and then, these little things that set you back, these little things that cause you to pay attention, they're messengers not of Satan. The word messenger, look what it means. It means a supernatural messenger from God, conveying news from God to men. So you tell me how a messenger from God can be a messenger of Satan. It's because we're too stupid and we're too indoctrinated, and we don't understand that Satan just means adversary. And in this case, it means the adversary of what? Our flesh. So every now and then, because we have such surpassing revelations hitting us left and right, every now and then, Father and Mother check us before we wreck us. Damn, this is good. They have to check us before we wreck us. Why? So that we don't become too conceited. So that we don't become too conceited. So every now and then, because of the amazing revelations that are coming to us, we get these messengers from God that manifest in fleshly, worldly things that get us back on track and keep us from being conceited. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking especially to those of us that have YouTube channels and put out content and do newsletters and do all the things, the people that are actually trying to make a difference in people's lives, people that are getting this revelation, people that are disseminating this revelation. Sometimes, ladies and gentlemen, we get too big for our own booties. And that could be either the booties on your feet or the booty that you sit on. Either one, you can get too big for both of them. And we have to be honest. We have to ask ourselves, well, if something's going bad in my life, quote unquote, if a messenger of God has been sent, and Sometimes when things get disrupted in your life, you're being attacked by forces that are malevolent to you. Sometimes when things are a little messed up in your life, it's the divine trying to get your damn attention. So if you're smart enough to get the abundance of revelations, then you're smart enough to figure out which one it is. Because this wouldn't be happening to you if you weren't getting abundance of revelations, ladies and gentlemen. If your life is being, if you're being buffeted, if you're being buffeted, you got to stop and say, okay, number one, I'm really happy because if I'm being buffeted, that means I'm on to some good stuff. So my life has been a wreck for the last couple weeks. To be frank with you, it's been a wreck for the last couple months. Y'all didn't know that, did you? Some of you did. I know you did. And some of my friends are saying, try 6 months, Jeff, 7 months. Well, I think that's a little pessimistic. But it's been some time. It's been some considerable time. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say, all right. Because the fact that I'm being buffeted means that I'm on to something, cousin. I'm under the spout where the glory comes out, because if I wasn't there, I wouldn't have to worry about forces that oppose me buffeting me. I have to say that slowly, because if I say it faster than buffeting, my tongue gets twisted and stuff. So the first thing I say is, all right, I'm on the right track. It's a sorry dog that won't wag his own tail. So I wag my own tail a little bit and say, good, I'm on the right track. But then I have to say, and I did ask myself this over the past few months. So there's trouble in paradise. And is it an attack by the enemy? Because that's what I thought it was, because obviously it couldn't have been that I made a mistake, because that's just not even possible, right? So I'm sitting, in South Florida, I'm thinking, boy, the enemy's really after me. And boy, yeah, Rooney's like, even Rooney had to speak up, because he's like, dude, are you really sitting there saying that stuff? Because he was there. He saw it all. Rooney saw it all from start to finish. And I got to tell you, Rooney has never been happier to be back in the bunker. This cat was never happy in South Florida, but he is just as pleased as punch to be back in the bunker. And I think he's happy to be here because he gets to be on camera at the bunker. I think he missed all you guys, and he wanted to say, take me back to the bunker so I can get some camera time again. That's what I think. Rooney, the camera's over there, mister. Yep, Rooney has never been happier. He's so excited. Can't you tell? But he's really at peace. He's really happy to be home. And he is. He's just really chilled. He's very, very happy to be here. Try to contain yourself. Don't get too excited. And he saw it all. So I'm over there thinking, boy, the devil's after me. Because even though you're out of Christianity for so long, you still think about the devil. But we have to start asking ourselves. And I just thought about this tonight, and I could have saved myself a lot of trouble, probably. No doubt about it, I could have saved myself trouble one way or the other. To say, you know what? Things are a wreck right now, man. I'm being buffeted. And what I should have been asking was, is it the enemy or is it the dummy? That's the question we got to ask. Is it the enemy that's buffeting me, or is it the dummy that's buffeting me? The enemy, we have enemies. Sorry, I know that makes a lot of noise. Sorry about that. We have enemies. There's archons, and there's whatever these other things are, the Anunnakis or whoever. We have enemies. We have spiritual enemies, and we have people that are enemies. So Is it the enemy? There's a lot of enemies. Or is it the dummy? And guess who the dummy is? I'm the dummy. You're the dummy. So the first thing you need to do when you're doing things and you're making things and you are actually making a difference, when you're involved in the mission and you realize that you're being attacked, you realize that stuff's going on, you realize you're being buffeted, the first thing you got to stop and determine is it the enemy or is it the dummy? If it's the enemy, you know what to do. You take charge, you take authority, you do all the mechanical things, you call in help, you call in assistance. First of all, the first thing is you pat yourself on the back a little bit, wag your own tail, say, good. You know, every now and then you got to say, damn, I'm good. I know that sounds like ego. I know some of you don't like it. That's okay. But when you do what we do and you take the crap that we take, trust me, cousin, every now and then you got to say, damn, you're good. Damn, I'm good. Every now and then you got to say it. So that's the first thing you do. I'm on the right track, because if I wasn't, the enemy who has limited resources wouldn't be wasting time on me. So go me. I'm super happy. Secondly, check your friendly neighborhood Rooney and see how he's doing, because Rooney was a wreck over there, bro. He was just a wreck. So I'm like, I should have tuned into Rooney. And I finally, when I got back and Rooney's like, oh, thank God I'm home, I'm like, oh, that's where I'm supposed to be. But anyway, good job. Is it the enemy? Is it the dummy? If it's the enemy, you know how to deal with that. Not so clear how you deal with it when it's the dummy, because then you gotta get real. It gets real fast, right? It gets really real, really fast when you got to realize, oh, it's the dummy. It's not the enemy. It's the dummy. Where did I go wrong? How do I get this back the way it's supposed to be? What am I doing? What am I not doing? Do a little inventory. Do a little checkup from the neck up. Check yourself before you wreck yourself. And just stop and get your bearings and figure out what you're supposed to be doing. And Paul intentionally hid that from us. We are in a time of such surpassing revelations. And I could stop it right here, because that's a lot to take in, but I'm not. We're in a time of great exceeding revelations, and there's so much coming to us, and we're learning so much. I mean, think about it. From the time I went to South Florida till now, my channel doubled, more than doubled. Wow. The last 6 weeks have been hell. And I added over 10,000 subscribers. Dude, surpassing revelations. Wow. But I wasn't where I needed to be. I wasn't on the right track. Not saying anything about anybody else, but Jeffrey Allen Darty the first wasn't on the right track. And he wasn't getting the message. You know, I believe that father and mother will first send you the still small voice, and then they'll send you, the wind, and they'll send you a storm. And finally, they send you the divine 2x4. Bam! Right across the head. The thorn in the flesh, we call it. And I would counsel you to be a quicker learner than I was. But anyway, we beat this horse to death. Celebrate and then regulate. Is it me? Is it the enemy? And start taking corrective action. Let's go back into the scripture and see where we were and where we need to pick up on. So, it's not a messenger of Satan. It's a messenger of God in your Satan, in your adversary, which is your flesh. And sometimes it'll come from, that's beautiful. I missed it. Satan means adversary, so it can be an adversary from outside you. Satan also means the fallen inside bad you, evil Jeff. Evil, there's no chat room. I can't say names. I hate it. Evil, it's evil us. So it's either one. It's God will use, the gods, father and mother will use an adversary to come against you to get your attention. Father and mother will use your own stupidity. They will use the enemy and they will use the dummy. And what's the key? So you won't get conceited. Because you know why? When you get conceited, you can't receive the surpassingness of the revelations anymore because you think you know it all. I'm so smart that I know everything. I've got this thing wired. No more surpassing revelations. And guess what? Father, mother, the divine ones, they need to get surpassing revelations out and pour them. They're stuck getting them out through people like you and I, you and me. Poor gods. It's amazing that the gods limit themselves, at least in this dimension, to working through us. Crazy, I know. But that's why it happens. Because they've got to get the message out and they got to get your attention. So they allow these things to come into your life to get your attention so they can get the message out, because it's not about you, cousin, and it ain't about me. There's more than just us. And then we go into verse 8. I said we go into verse 8. Thank you. For 3 times I begged the Lord that it might depart from me. Well, this is Paul. We don't even need to talk about this because Paul, it was him. It wasn't the enemy. It was the dummy, because he was possessed by a spirit. He gave himself over to possession. So I might be done. Is there anything else in here for me? Okay, here we go. So if you find out that it's the enemy, or if you find out that it's the dummy, doesn't really matter, because the grace of the divine, what's the grace? The grace, the favor, the kindness, all, remember when Wayne Steiger told me to call down favor? And just in case you're wondering, I have called down favor on Sandra Angelo and will continue to do so. So grace, it doesn't matter if it's from the dummy or if it's from the enemy. The grace of father and mother is sufficient for you. Be content, be satisfied. It will pass, because the grace of the father and mother is sufficient for you. And Paul, the lying rat bastard, hid this from you, encrypted and encoded in a lie, but I'm unveiling it for you here tonight. Whether it's the dummy or the enemy in your life, it's here to help you get back to where you can receive revelation and not be arrogant. And the grace of the divine is sufficient to you and for you. Because here's the key, folks. In your weakness, in your suffering, in your calamity, in your frailty, in whatever it is that happens to you. Me, relationship blew up. Spent all my money. Moved all my stuff. I don't even have my chair. My super cool Captain Kirk red black chair. I had to leave it. There was no room. You do stupid things, you got to pay a price, ladies and gentlemen, sometimes. But his power, his grace is sufficient, because it's in that the strength, the weakness, the want of strength, the suffering, the calamity. Sometimes you got to realize how weak you are before you can realize how strong that within you is. Let me say that again. Sometimes you got to realize how weak your flesh is before you can realize how strong your spirit is. I had to come face to face with my own weakness. I had to come face to face with my own illness. I had to come face to face with my own suffering, calamity, and frailty. And look at that. Asthenia. without strength. And that reminds me of for some reason, it reminds me of, what do they, anesthesia. You forget that you're just made of flesh, and you start thinking you're something special. No, I know not you, just me, maybe. But it's in that strength when you finally get to the place where you realize, oh, crap, man. The calamity, the suffering, the frailty, the illness, it makes you stop and realize, whoa, something's going on here. And when you get to the place where you can realize, whoa, something's going on here, the weakness is not coming just to make you weak. It's coming to bring you back into what? Bring you back into your might, your power, and your marvelous works. It's about to bring you back to your powerful deeds. It's about to bring you back to your marvelous works. It's about to make you boom, boom, dynamite once again. And Paul tried to hide this from us. He's the rat bastard's rat bastard. It just comes to get our attention so we can get back under the spout where the glory comes out. So people are like, Jeff, well, why are you so happy? You just got dumped, bro. I am most glad. I am pleasant. Why? Because I would rather boast. I'd rather boast glory. I'd rather be proud. I'd rather hold my head up high in the weakness, in the thing that happened, in the breakup of a relationship, in the loss of finances, in the loss of furniture, in the loss of cars, in the loss of my command chair from the bridge of the Enterprise. I revel in that because it was that thing which set me back on the right path. It got me back to the place where I could get the tremendous revelations again and probably save my ass from a lot worse fate, ladies and gentlemen. That's why I'm happy. That's why I'm boasting about it, because this weakness came so that the power could rest back on me again. The power of the Christ could rest back on me again, cousin. That's why I'm happy. That's why I'm feeling good. That's why I'm feeling 10 foot tall and bulletproof, because I realize I'm not 10 foot tall and bulletproof. It's only when you know you're not 10 foot tall and bulletproof that you can feel 10 foot tall and bulletproof. So because we've got such an exceeding measure and abundance of revelation coming to us today, especially those that are involved in this work, every now and then we get a messenger from the divine to buffet us, to get our attention. And it doesn't have to be a buffeting. They'll try the still small voice. They'll try the gentle nudge. And then, bam, the Holy Ghost 2x4 upside your dome to buffet. Why? So you don't get arrogant. And the reason why you don't want to get arrogant is because if you're arrogant, you can't get the abundance of revelation. And they need to get the abundance of revelation out. And if they need to whip your little butt to do it, they will. And if you signed up for this, you've signed up for a butt whipping, and you've signed off on the, what do they call those things where you have to sign it so you can go ride the go-karts or whatever, the disclaimer. And that's not what it's called. You know what I'm talking about, that thing you have to sign, the release. You signed the release, cousin. And His grace will take care of you as soon as you realize that you are strong only when you realize how weak your flesh is. So you take pleasure in the things that happen because you know that it's for the power of Christ to come back into your life. It's really not that complicated. This is a major revelation, ladies and gentlemen. This is powerful, powerful stuff. One more quick time. Let me show you. We are in a time where we get an abundance of revelations. And every now and then, if we get ourselves to the place where we're exalted above measure, we get a messenger of God that comes into some of our flesh. It's either an adversary from outside of us, or it's the dummy, us, that gets us into this place where, whoa, we got to stop, and they get our attention. But don't worry, his grace is still going to carry you through, because all he's trying to do is get you back to the place where you realize that flesh can't do it. Having started out in the spirit, don't go back to the flesh. And the reason why is because they got to get you back to where you can receive the abundance of revelation. Why? Because we're the last generation of real humans, and we got to get busy, cousins. We're in the revelation business, and revelation business is a booming. We're in the abundant revelation business, and cousin business is a booming. So if you signed up for this, you signed the waiver, that's the word I'm looking for. You signed the waiver, and you're going to get a reminder when you are getting a little too big for your britches. Recognize it, celebrate it, decide if it's the enemy or the dummy, and take corrective action. And before you know it, you'll be back under the spout where the glory comes out. And that damn Paul hiding this stuff from us, encrypting and encoding great, powerful messages of revelation. I tell you, I'd like to. Anyway, this is pretty good stuff. This is what we call, this is a little thing I like to call unindoctrinating yourself. This is a little thing I like to call creating yourself. This is a little thing I like to refer to as building the life you'll love. This is a little thing I like to call the inside job. This is a little thing I like to call asking questions and questioning answers. This is what it looks like to be your own guru, guide your own spirit, master your own ascension. Good stuff. We are the last generation of real humans, because AI is taking over, because they're drugging us, they're dulling us. There won't be another generation of real, true, 100% organic, homegrown, grass-fed, free-range humans. We're the last generation of free-range humans. Take this teaching to heart, and cousins, let's get busy.